the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
With the rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roger, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Well, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we got another weird one for you. And special shout out to James. James is sitting in with us tonight, Salcedo Paranormal. Without James, there's no show tonight. I got home too late to really formulate a good idea. But luckily, James had one in the can. So we had this plan from last night. So everything worked out swimmingly. So otherwise, I'd be canceling because I wouldn't have any time to do anything, but it's nice having smart friends and with great ideas. Tonight we're talking, ghosts, but not like you think. Not the ghosts that we're used to really hearing about, the ghosts of Christmas past or the ghosts of the spooky old tales from the days of yore. Not those type of entities. Instead, there's an edge case of these entities that really doesn't get a lot of attention. Not just, let's say, in, let's say the paranormal tales that you hear as I'm describing, but also even in the fringe circles where people talk about these ideas. This is one of those actual concepts that is really on the fringes of the fringe, because you see some of it, and I've kind of heard some of these ideas from other spaces, but very sparse, very spread out. But it is that idea of these sort of stick figure like ghosts that people tend to see, maybe cartoon rendered in 2D, things like this. All right. So we're going to get to that. And there's a lot here. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to think about as part of it. And we'll have James on in just a second. Hang tight, James. I'm going to read this first part here because when I was going through the information James sent me regarding these entities, these edge case, basically paranormal entities that almost seem artificial, not as if they're, like an ancestral spirit or, the Fluffy that passed on your old dog that came back to visit, not those spaces in your mind's eye. These things seem totally and completely artificial, as if they belong somewhere else, not in this realm at all, like they're a passing visitor. Now, the thing that got me thinking when James sent this stuff to me, I was like, okay, wait. So if this is the case, these things almost seem artificial in the sense of like a simulation, almost how a haunted simulation would represent ghosts in that larger space. Okay. But then I was like, okay, so where does that trace back to in my mind? And of course it's the EVP, which is that electronic voice phenomena, right? Which is one of those ones where you put the recorder out and you record some stuff, and then when you play it back, you hear some things that you didn't actually hear when you were there sitting live. And it's weird. They come out as voices sometimes. And if you don't believe any of that stuff, that's totally cool. Like I said, there's no truth to be found here, by the way. All the disclaimers do apply. This is just ideas, kind of kicking the cosmic soccer ball back and forth, as I like to say. And no truth to be found here. If you want truth, pull up some political podcast. They'll tell you the truth. Yeah, right. This isn't about the truth. This is a philosophical construct looking at the world in a slightly different way. But I found this curious case regarding the EVP, and it is the beginning of the actual electronic voice phenomena. Check this out. There's an individual, and all these links are in the description down below. I encourage you to read them. Let's see, where are we at? It's right here. Where's the guy? Okay, we'll start with this one. We'll put that up right now. But anyways, this guy's name is Frederick Jurgensen. I think that's how you say it. He was born in 1903 in Odessa, then part of the Russian Empire, and lived one of those lives that seems almost too full to be a single person's. He was a painter, an opera singer, a linguist who spoke multiple languages, and eventually a filmmaker who became well connected enough in European cultural circles to paint an official portrait of Pope Paul VI, right? He was not, by any conventional measure, a fringe figure or a credulous entity. which is part of why what happened in 1959 to him is maybe adds a little more weight to be taken seriously. So he was living in Sweden in 1959, and he set up a microphone in the countryside near his home to record birdsong. Simple, birds out there chiming in the woods. And, well, what happened astonished him. The intention was purely naturalistic, a sound document of the local birds. But when he played the tape back, he heard the birds, and then he heard a voice discussing nocturnal bird behavior in Norwegian. This was not a radio bleed or a stray transmission. We've all heard EVPs, or at least representations of them on, those ghost shows you see on TV. But it was a direct, contextually appropriate commentary on what he had been recording. He was shaken enough to repeat the experiment. And wouldn't you know it, the voices came back. Over subsequent sessions, they became more personal, more direct. His mother, who had passed years earlier, reportedly spoke to him by name. Now, the instinct at that point for most people is to either collapse into grief and believe, or to assume they are losing their mind, okay? Well, he was obviously a troubled mind, so he did neither. He became methodical. He started recording systematically, logging what he captured, trying to establish conditions and patterns. He published his findings in 1964 in a book called Voices from Space, which circulated through European researchers and eventually reached Raudiv, who took this other individual, which links are in the description down below, who took the methodology and scaled it dramatically. But the origin point is always Jurgensen, alone in the Swedish countryside with a tape recorder pointed at birds, hearing something call his name. Now, from the electronic voice phenomenon part that kind of wraps into this larger context, you got to ask yourself, okay, again, if you assume this is real, if you don't, cool, throw it out and be like, come on, Mike, it's a static anomaly, whatever, that kind of made its way into the tape, because in the old days, it wasn't digital, it was tape. Okay, fine, cool. That stuff exists, the tape artifacts, sounds that you kind of can't hear with the human ear, but are picked up by these recording devices. Cool. I am on board 100% with that. But let's suspend your disbelief in this space for just a moment and consider that these things are real, that there is something trying to speak to us from beyond the veil, and it gets distorted enough to where it doesn't even sound like speech anymore. It sounds almost electronic, even in the days of yore when this was on a tape, when they were recording these EVPs on a tape. So I don't know. Of course, there's a lot of questions that kind of come with this, and that's the point tonight. We're going to talk about these ideas, and not just the edge case of those sort of stick figure ghosts, but this electronic voice phenomena as part of it. And what do you know about it? Basically, that's the shtick. That's where we're at tonight. And we'll get to James in just a second here. Audio check, please, out there. Do you still hear me snorting like a warthog? I tried to fix the noise gate and stuff, so everything's dialed. But if you still hear me breathing like a maniac, let me know, please, and I'll fix that. But I don't hear it in my headphones, but that doesn't mean anything. So you guys tell me. What matters is what goes out to the stream. Anyway. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, get a word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be, I'm sorry to Rick, I lost the thing. I'm going to play the Stoic Mindset. We'll get back to playing the other ones too as well. It's not on my board here. I lost the file, but I'll get it back. But anyway, be right back. After that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get to James, and we're taking your calls tonight. The new phone line is up, and the number is not correct yet, so we're going to go with 702-857-6939. We are taking your calls. Appreciate you guys being patient with that as we go, and thanks for the participation. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute after, of course, the Stoic Mindset. Be right back.
Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so this is where we started with this Frederick Jurgensen, okay, again, born 1903, passed in 1987, and largely credited with the first accounts of what these EVPs are, recording them religiously almost because he was hearing things from the ether, things through the static. There were voices that were speaking his name, that were talking directly about the activities he was participating in, and it spooked the hell out of him. Not enough to freak out once again, but enough to investigate and to continue recording and checking if there was static or if there was a pattern in that static or the noise he was hearing. I don't know. As usual, look, you guys tell me. I don't know the answers to these things. This is way above my pay grade. My intuition tells me a lot of this stuff is probably concocted, like you turn on one of those ghost TV shows and it's nonsense. But that doesn't mean just because some TV shows are ridiculous, doesn't mean there are cases where some of this stuff is actually real. So I don't know. Have you ever tried this? Anybody actually done any ghost hunting? You recorded some of these things. You heard an EVP. And funny enough, early on when we were doing the show, this was probably like 5 years ago maybe, we had a guy call in and he thought that he heard an EVP on the recording of the show we did. Like there was a voice kind of chipping through, and he called in to tell us about it. And so we scrubbed back and played and tried to find the track, and I found it afterward. And to me, it was unconvincing, but also there was definitely something there. So I don't know. I mean, what does that mean? You tell me. I don't really know. Love to hear your thoughts on this. We're taking your calls tonight at 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. But instead, let's not do that just yet. Hang tight till the bottom of the hour. We'll take some calls. Let's instead go to the savior of the day. Thank you again, Salcedo Paranormal James, for being here tonight and for bringing the idea and for saving the show. Otherwise, so we would have no show. Welcome to the joint. How are you feeling tonight? And what's on your mind? Go ahead.
I'm okay. Yeah. This was amazing because there were things I had in mind for this, but then in the course of what you were able to find and everything and look up, you found things that add to these ideas here. So I wanted to start with how I got to this idea to begin with, and that is by doing research for my own show, Salcedo Paranormal. One of the main thing I do is I look around online and find reports from people of the experiences they've had. And a lot of them, they seem to be caused by beings that are of this world in one way or another. But then there's been a handful I've found over the years where that doesn't seem to be the case. These are those stick figures. Just think of a stick figure drawn on a piece of paper, but then imagine that figure in the real world, sort of two-dimensional, moving around, and just when it should not be able to do that. And I've heard of these figures usually being made of just darkness, but also in some cases of dark and light, like black and white segments as well. I've found a couple of cases of those over the years. Other things I've found were reports of either squares or rectangles of light, almost like the image you would see on a blank screen or a old-fashioned sort of TV screen, or just a new screen with a standby image of just light, just floating in the air, and sometimes staying in one position, other times moving. So these odd things that don't make sense with everything else that I've found. And then through talking with Mike about these things, it got me thinking, and he mentioned this too, the EVP. I've heard of people who have been either on phone calls or made recordings for different things, not always for paranormal investigation, but just for other reasons, where they caught voices or they heard voices that were, they sounded mechanical. And I've heard of other EVPs and things where the voice sounds more natural, and I experienced one of those more natural voices once. But I have heard of voices that seem like they were generated by someone or something, and this is from even decades ago, before, let's say, AI that we have now was really prevalent. I've been sort of cracking up about this in a way because I was thinking of this as an AI show, but not really AI the way you would think of AI the whole time, because to me this just goes beyond what we know of that AI can do as of right now. And so what if it's another AI? What if it's AI made by some other entities or other beings or people from other points in time? And that's sort of where my mind goes with all this, because I'm just curious, how does this work? Why does this happen? These sightings of these anomalous things that are, again, seem artificial. Reports of voices that seem artificial, whether on recordings or even just phone calls or things like that. This whole sort of, and it is rare overall compared to the rest of everything else I've researched. Like I'm talking maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 posts out of everything I've been looking through over the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years. So it is rare, but it is still out there. And you can hear reports of this on other paranormal themed podcasts and shows. And so anyway, that's how I got to this idea and had it for a while. And I'm glad it worked out for this show.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you. And thanks for bringing, again, this is what deep research gets you. James has been doing this for such a long time now that he starts to see these patterns, right? You see things repeat themselves, but then when things don't necessarily repeat in sort of a heavy dose, this is what you get. And if you look, go check out the links are going to be in the description. So I encourage you to read this stuff. But, stick figure creature sighting. There's another one. I saw a dark, fast, cartoony figure outside my apartment last night. And these are some of those things, a square of light in a dark room and a blue square cut into the sky. So we're talking not just sort of a cartoon level stick figures, but almost as if there's that 2-dimensional space bleeding into our reality. Now, and think of it this way, not just in terms of, as James was describing, maybe the singularity from the future or some maybe AI entity kind of reaching out to us in some way. And before you go, come on, Mike, that's ridiculous. We just created AI. How could it possibly do that? Well, let's just suspend your disbelief for a moment and say that maybe the aliens are here. And it's been long rumored or talked about that those gray aliens are biomechanical entities and run on these AI systems in some capacity. So maybe, just maybe, there is sort of a deeper, older AI system that finally we can interface with now that for a long time was just that static in the noise. And so I don't know, right? There are different ways to look at this. It depends on, once again, what you believe, how deep you want to kind of chase the rabbit hole. And remember, the last show we did, we talked about not chasing rabbit holes. A lot of that, shout out Matt, saw that was really great stuff. But, just kind of entertaining an idea doesn't mean you have to believe everything hook, line, and sinker. But certainly this is an edge case in the sense of these ghosts being square or stick figure or, 2-dimensional instead of 3, this type of thing. But it does remind me of that Matrix sort of haunting. And in the original Matrix, the first 3 movies, there's that second one where they have those entities that are vampires, or they're, what were they? It was a vampire and a werewolf or something, as old legacy entities that should have been wiped in later versions of the Matrix itself, but they survived. Some escaped and survived and then resurfaced in this later version where they shouldn't exist at all. So that's the kind of thing that comes to my mind when I think about this. But as usual, it's not about me. It's about us. It's about a conversation. What does this sound like to you, and how weird does it get? What else you got, James? Go right ahead.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I was tagged in the chat there somewhere. So, but yeah, and with all this too, I want to say, I'm not saying that I know what all this is or what any of this is. I'm not saying this is artificial. I'm just saying it's an odd thing I've noticed where it seems like all this stuff is that way, and if it's not, then that's, I don't know, that's almost even more amazing, because how does nature replicate these things that seem so artificial? But yeah, so that's been the amazing part to me, is all this, just considering the ideas and the possibilities of what all this could be, because like I said, these things seem so different from everything else that I find. Again, a handful of cases, let's just say 10 out of hundreds that I've looked at, posted experiences over the last 5 years. And so that's not many, but in some cases, to me, the things that are the most fascinating are the things where you find the same kinds of things over and over and over again. In other words, the majority of the cases. but the minority of the cases of experiences are just as interesting to me as well, because why is that a minority? How is that working? How is that happening? And there's that seem natural about a lot of these situations, and it could be connected to aliens, whatever aliens may be, wherever they may be from. But then is it? And there's no way to know any of this for sure. But that's what I wanted to bring up tonight, was just this whole odd little sort of small part, but also still significant part of anomalous reports and activity, because it's been reported, and not just, in the present day, but throughout history as well. It seems like cases of just anomalous, mechanical almost sightings or sounds.
Yeah, well said, all of that. And again, so what leads us here is because James has done all this research, he's spotting these patterns or the lack of patterns in these edge cases. And, it also brings to mind when I was thinking of this too, because James and I kind of kicked this idea around several weeks back, is that, when they have the ghost hunters and they do, that show, and they've got those devices, I don't know what they're called, but they have whatever they're, sort of manifesting. And if you think it's nonsense, that's cool. Like, I get it. But they manifest as like these stick figures, like these actual stick figures in the electronic equipment that they're using when they're, provoking spirits or whatever it is they're doing. I know, I get it. It's a TV show. I'm not even really a big fan. I turn it on sometimes and then turn it off and walk away. But the times I have seen it in the past, that they have these devices where they kind of pick up a stick figure entity that appears in a room or, a particular place or space. And that's when James first mentioned this, it got me thinking about that as well. Like, how come not just the device they're using, maybe it's built to do that intentionally, but otherwise, I mean, if it's an entity like a human shaped entity, why wouldn't it fill itself out, right? Like, why wouldn't it sort of be more shoulders and head and arms and legs instead of this weird stick stuff kind of bouncing around in a strange fashion? I don't know. It's a strange place to live here, because we are on the edge case of the edge case. But have you ever heard of this? What do you know about this? And do you think it is strange that there is this edge case that seems almost as if it's an unnatural haunting? And what does that mean? How weird does that get? And do you think it is possible that maybe, just maybe, we're getting the first bleed through effect of a haunted AI space, maybe from Alpha Centauri, as I like to say? Look, I don't know. No answers, just questions, just ideas. And more importantly, have you ever heard of this? The whole point of doing this is to have a conversation. So we are taking your calls tonight. If you want to be part of the conversation, that's 702-857-6939. Phone number is going to be in the chat after we take a quick break. Thanks for being part of this, and a special thanks to James saving the show. Honestly, if he didn't have this idea last night, there would be no show because I ran out of time. So there you go. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with Salcedo Paranormal, of course, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, taking your calls. What do you know about these weird stick figure entities? Squares, blocks, two-dimensional ghosts, for lack of a better term. Real? Nah? Or somewhere in between? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
hello there, fine folks. What's up, Eric Gaston, APOC? What's up, all the official llama of Troubled Minds? What's up, Unseen Steve McQueen? We got the Robert Asgardia Ben, Asgardia Ban. Gets cut off. What's up, Matzel? Herschel Sachas here. Good evening, Dub. Dragon Rose, Jorge over there on, just on Dutch's Discord. What's up, a roving fungus? Fred got first sipping the maybe juice. Sachas there. Good evening, guys. Hope everybody's well tonight. Hiker and Puff over there on Rumble holding it down. Thank you to Ray K for gifting the sub over there on Rumble. Appreciate that very much. What's up, Herschel? How you doing? Good evening, guys. Thanks for the great chat already. We got Mr. Duffy, a roving fungus. Good evening. Good evening. Jen's here. Hello. Who did I miss? Matzow. Yeah, great show last time. Matzow, great. Fantastic stuff. Like I said, it's great to have smart friends. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. I don't know. Look, no answers for me, more questions, but have you ever heard of this? And if you haven't, what is your theory? Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, the voices in the EVP recordings were never quite right. Never fully human. Even mechanical somehow, as if being assembled rather than spoken. What if that wasn't a flaw in the recording? What if that was the point? Tonight we're talking about, I'm calling this signal to noise, visitors from beyond the render, and is it possible that there's such a thing as a haunting by an entity that is not natural? What does that look like? Now, you know me, I'm willing to get weird and consider bizarre, way out there ideas. And one of my favorites is that primordial nature spirit, sort of that the earth spirit that's been here pre-humanity, sort of if you think the noosphere is the entirety of human ideas sort of encircling the earth, imagine this going back to primordial times before humans. Okay. Now, in this particular case, I do wonder if there is some non-human, dare I say it, non-human intelligence that can kind of come through that was or modern organic life. Maybe it's been here forever trying to communicate. And we've seen a lot of, not seen directly, let's say per se for myself or other people. Some have, some haven't, but there have been a lot of different accounts historically that would suggest something like this might be true, that big P phenomena, whatever that means. And so I don't know, there's a lot of ways to consider this, but do you think it is possible that we have a haunting happening, for lack of a better term, maybe there's a better term for that, but of something that's completely not of this earth, meaning, or it's so deep in history that it's maybe alien. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Taking your calls again, 702-857-6939. But to James first. Anything on that, James? And we got some calls with hands up in the Discord. Welcome back.
Yeah, just real quick, I think it was Matt's Hall in the chat mentioned the structured light sensor that is used on originally was used on Xbox camera systems, but it has been adapted to paranormal investigations, and that is also, I did find a post a while ago about someone who is not doing any paranormal investigations and was not working for the gaming industry, was just doing some basic tests on a system like that in an office and had sightings through that camera of a couple of these stick-like figures. And one of them was even sort of leaning on the windowsill outside of this window where there was a drop-off. There not have been anyone standing there technically, physically, but the stick figure appeared to be leaning on the window edge or windowsill. So this is not just stuff that happens on TV shows. And just in case anyone is curious, I found posts about that, and if I found one, then I'm sure there's probably others. But looking forward to the calls.
Great stuff as usual. You know him, you love him, James Salcido. Again, links all in the description, salcidoparanormal.com. Go check out that sexy website. Go listen to his podcast. I'm calling it, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it at this point, that the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
So please go check that out, SaucedoParanormal.com. Again, 972 episodes, all manner of things. And you see, when you stick to something for long enough, you do become an expert. I know James is going to defer and say, no, I'm not. I'm just curious and interested in kind of cataloging these things. However, you see how you can pick up some of these anomalies or these edge cases, as I'm calling them tonight, and make some sense out of the noise and maybe peel some things out that don't get enough attention in the larger conversation. So yeah, great stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you know? Have you ever heard of this before? If you have or haven't, do you have a theory? What do you know about EVPs? And did you hear the story of this individual that is credited with actually creating or the actual EVP phenomena, which was Friedrich Jurgensen. I don't know how to say that anyway. So a Russian-born Swedish painter and film producer. So wild stuff. I found this tonight as I was going through and was like, damn, this is kind of a cool story. Let's talk about this. What do you know about it? One more time, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to the Robert in Pennsylvania. Thanks for being patient. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You sound fantastic.
I wonder why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There was a famous novel written decades ago about a flat dimensional world that was termed Flatland in fiction. I'm going to read from this. Let's just take a second. It's a 3D plane. It's a 3D plane inhabited by shapes where life is restricted to length and width and height. It serves as a satirical exploration of perspective and cosmetology. A flat universe means space is not curved, where parallel lines remain parallel and triangles have 180 degrees. The Flatland World was written by Edward Albert. This concept describes a world of triangles, squares, and circles. Residents cannot perceive 3D objects, seeing only lines or slices of 3D objects that intersect their plane. You ever hear that?
I've never heard of that book at all, no. But that's amazing. That's maybe we're onto something here, huh? I dig that. How old is the book again?
Let me see here. I think it was written in the 50s. Let me see here.
That's okay. I can look it up. 50s is good enough. I'm just kind of curious on that. Edwin Abbott, 1884, says Eric.
Is that what it was, 1884?
Says,
yeah, 1884.
Oh, yep. There you go. Hey, appreciate the help in the chat. We don't need Jamie from Joe Rogan. We got Eric and the rest of the crew there. Yeah. So this is an old idea. That's incredible to me. 1884, even better. So what do you think? Have you heard of this before? Other than that, and do you think there is something here that's a little bit larger than maybe? Well, should we give it more credit? I guess.
Well, all I can think of is I've heard of Flatland. Matter of fact, when years and years ago, I may have read that book. I just can't remember. But there's further information. It's a satirical novella by Everett Abbott, first published in 1894, that uses a two-dimensional world of geometric shapes to critique Victorian societies, rigid hierarchies, and explore the concept of higher dimensions. Narrated by a square, the story follows his journey after a visit from a three-dimensional sphere, which challenges his perception of reality and leads to his imprisonment to trying to convince others of worlds beyond our own. The book remains a classic in science fiction, mathematics, and philosophy for its imaginative exploration of perspective and limitations of perception. So when James is talking about, or you're talking about why these beings, or whatever is being seen, don't flesh out, instead they just continue to look like stick figures, it's because maybe they're projections from a flat Earth. Flatland.
I dig it. And not to go too computer head on you with the simulation theory stuff, but imagine playing a 2D video game, right? And is this what Mario looks like when he haunts us from the old 8-bit Nintendo system? Like, this is the type of stuff that goes through my mind as maybe these worlds collide. I don't know. Of course, that's just a video game. But as we get closer and closer to that technological singularity I'm always talking about and thinking about, I wonder if these worlds do merge in some capacity, which would be super weird.
Well, look at it this way. We're always thinking about dimensions. All right. That there's like, we're living in a third dimension, and there's a fourth dimension, there's a fifth dimension. Nobody ever talks about this, the first dimension or the second dimension.
Right, which is going to be the singularity or that flat world, flat realm, Mario Brothers.
Right, and a projection of a being from a second dimension would be just, maybe we all start out in the first dimension, and then we evolve, probably through reincarnation, into the second, and then the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. We were not always three-dimensional.
I like it as maybe it's part of those Bardo cycles of reincarnation. Maybe if you're really bad, you don't come back as a cockroach. You come back as a Mario brother in a 2D plane.
Yeah. So when once you got your sketch pad handy and you're drawing a stick figure, perhaps that stick figure that you drew is alive.
Ah, yes, the old us rendering from the larger contextual world, which means that sort of a fourth dimensional entity might be rendering us, right? If the fractal kind of follows down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And by the way, you can get Flatland at Barnes and Noble. Let's see, Walmart. Probably Amazon too. I think I'm going to order that book. I'm pretty sure I read that back when I was a kid. I just can't. I'm not just absolutely sure. I think I'll just buy that.
I think before you do that, if you don't mind other formats, it's from 1884. It's got to be in the public domain. I'm sure you can get it for free. But spend away if you want to.
If I'm going to read it, I want to be able to, when I'm finished, put it in with the rest of my library.
Fair enough. Appreciate that. What else you got?
The thing about if it's in the public domain, it's PDF or it's electronic, and you can't put that in your bookshelf.
I agree. I was just saying, just trying to save you $10 or whatever. But I completely agree. Once it's in your library at home, nobody can change it on the interwebs, and it's going to be the way it is, the way you bought it, and the way it's probably always been. So yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Stories from a Fractured Mind. My book is in both e-book and physical book, and I recommend the physical book because it pays me more money.
Perfect. And it doesn't change. It's not prone to the internet meddling, which is, again, back to the library aspect of things and kind of archiving. We can do that collectively. We can do that together.
Do you know that when you use what's Amazon's contraption that you download books to? What's it called? Kindle. When you build up a Kindle library, those books are not yours forever. At any time, Amazon can shut it down and take those books off you. Do you know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's happening in the video game realm too, where, in the old days, you used to buy it and have the disc and you keep it, and then you can install it for sort of in perpetuity. But now it's like a digital download, and you only have it as long as they sort of host it on their servers and stuff. So, and then, once they stop actually backing up the game with tech support and all the rest of that, the game is deprecated and you never owned it anyway. You were just kind of renting it instead. Yeah, it's the very same thing with video games.
It's just like Microsoft's Word. All right, now it's a subscription service. I still have my old disc from 2010 I can still use. and not have to pay a subscription. But everything's going subscription anymore, even your car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everything. Like I got somebody sent me a document recently, and I opened it up, and it opened up in Word, and it's all, please subscribe. I'm like, get out of here. No, too many damn subscriptions. But yeah, I mean, like this is the type of stuff that we should keep on top of mind. I'm sure we certainly are, but it is one of those things to not forget about, because they will rug pull at some point, and it won't be yours. And we've talked about.
But Go ahead.
Just going to say,
there's a Earth. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, and they could change it. They could sort of edit it for the times, be like, well, Mark Twain wrote this stuff that was really saucy. We'll change it because, we don't want to offend
can't have
anybody.
those words in there.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Yeah. Microsoft is now feeling a real earthquake because HP is putting out 40% of their laptops in Linux, because they were tired of the excessive amount that they had to pay Microsoft for a license to put it on their computers.
I don't blame them. Windows is turning into such a bloat monster that we're ripe for a new operating system that doesn't suck. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, what's interesting is people who bought those laptops, I've seen the reviews, they love that. They love the Linux. They and they're glad to be free of Windows.
Yeah, can't blame them. Anything for James while we got you on here?
Well, James, what do you think of Flatland?
It's amazing, and I've heard of, the other thing that makes me think of is people who have seen, especially as kids, literally cartoon figures or cartoon-like figures. Not just stick figures, but just full-on cartoon characters as kids moving around their homes. So, and I've heard of, again, one of the things that I was thinking about here for the show was those flat fields of light, not orbs, not anything else like that, but just these flat, almost like a screen, but it's not an actual physical screen, but just the light coming from a screen floating around. And it's rare, but I've heard about it.
It's what's in Flatland. Those very things, those very geometric shapes. And it's, when I was listening to the show throughout the first half hour, I was thinking about that, and I wanted to bring that forward. I also think when it comes to that incident in the woods with the tape recorder to record the birds and gets this electronic voice, even the voice of his mother calling his name or saying his name. If I'm understanding right, people who have gone crossed over, they communicate by telepathy. There's no vocalization. And I can't see why anybody telepathic, any entity telepathic, couldn't be able to communicate through a tape recorder.
Yeah, well, and as our technology gets better and better and more sensitive, I wonder if this stuff has always been there, and we'll be able to, without a doubt, verify this. Like I wonder about that too, because we're always getting better with the stuff we use technologically as well.
And AI will get us there.
So we're told. We're told a lot of things about AI.
It'll get us there. I mean, as this thing gets beyond anything that we can ever conceive for ourselves, beyond our own, so far beyond our abilities, I can't see any reason why it wouldn't be able to communicate or expand into the other dimensions.
Why not? Why not?
Well,
to go through those barriers.
Go ahead, James.
That's a whole other sort of set of phenomenon of experiences people have where they get phone calls or voices that come through on their phones or their TVs or their computers, or their devices will act in different ways that have significance with the person that has passed on, either playing a certain song or picking a certain movie or TV show. Just all these things I've been finding reports of over the years here, there does seem to be an interaction with others and technology that is getting more and more common based on reports that I found. So I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen someday.
Did you say yourself that you saw one of these stick figures?
No. I've just found a few posts about them online. I've had an EVP once, but not a stick figure.
What was your EPT? What happened there?
Well, so it's part of a larger experience. I went to this training center for people with low vision or no vision a couple of times. Once when I was like 19 or 20, and then once again when I was about 31 or 32, and for different reasons. And the first time I went there, the first night I was there, I heard a woman's voice in the room I was staying in, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. And then some days after, I was on the phone with a friend, and we both heard a voice, and it was the same woman's voice saying something like, "I'm coming down the hallway now." And it was like she was just reporting for work. And then I didn't go back there again until for like another, like I said, 11, 12 years. And when I was there for that other time, a friend who was there was hearing bumps and bangs in his room, random noises, which the whole place had all kinds of activity. And so he decided to try recording on his phone, doing an EVP session, electronic voice phenomenon session, with his phone. And so he did that, and he was quiet for a while, and he got this voice on his phone. I actually heard it, the recording of it, saying, "Looking for the one named James." And it was that same woman's voice. And his phone did not work right as long as that recording was on his phone. He tried to play it for another friend of ours. It would not play for them. It only played for me. And then eventually he was able to delete the recording. I wish we could have saved it, but we didn't know how at the time. And once he was able to delete that recording, it worked fine. So I can't say there's nothing to that, because I heard my name and I heard that same voice with my own ears, and then twice, and then on a device twice, and I don't know what it was or who it was, but I had those experiences.
Have you ever tried to go into a quiet place and run a tape recorder for half an hour and play it back?
Not so much. I prefer to just have experiences, observe them when they happen, and then talk about them. I don't need to have any more experiences than I already have. This is basically what it comes down to.
Well, I understand that people who have a disability with their vision, if it's really anywhere close to blind, that their hearing perception is above the normal, and they can hear things that people with regular vision could not pick up. Do you have that situation?
I feel like, yeah, definitely with just ordinary hearing, like ordinary sounds. Yes, I can hear my bed shifting beneath me when I lay down and when I go to bed. But also, I would say over the last several years, most of my experiences I do have, outside of dreams, most of my experiences I do have are things I hear around the apartment. And so, yeah, that does seem to be a good possibility there.
Yeah, well, maybe one of these days you'll hear something, from the great beyond, or something that people can't hear because they don't have, because it's a vision problem. I don't know. I'm just curious about that because I imagine you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah, if there's no other sounds going on, yeah. I mean, there is no such thing as, I mentioned this a couple shows ago with Eric, there is no such thing as silence for me, wherever I'm at.
Well, it's good talk with you. I'm done. Thank you, James. Thank you, Michael. Roger, out.
Thank you, the Roberts. Have a fantastic night. Appreciate the call. And we'll talk to you soon. him, you love him. That is the Roberts. Affectionately, he's a mentor of mine, a mentor to us all. Go check out his book. Links in the description. Stories from a Fractured Mind. The Robert Collection is what it's called. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down to the Robert. It's alphabetical there. Click that. It'll take you right to his book. You can get it on Amazon. You heard him. Buy it in paperback or the physical copy, and he makes a little bit more. And you have a souvenir and something the technocrats cannot change. It sits on your bookshelf. You can reread it. You can loan it to somebody who may not give it back because it's that good. I read it, and full disclosure, he sent me a couple copies for free. I didn't pay for it, but he does not pay me to say it's good. It just is good. Please go check it out. Again, a lot of talented friends as part of these conversations, and that's the whole point. Help our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. We're here with James Salcedo tonight, of course, the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds, and just pointing out some edge cases in the paranormal space through all his research over the years. And talking about maybe these square ghosts, these stick figures, these maybe two-dimensional type things that tend to pop up from time to time in these tales. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. We just talked about some wild ideas there with the Robert. Appreciate that very much. And what is your take? Have you heard of this? Two, if you can conceive of it being a real thing in your mind's eye, what's the origin of this? Is it technological? Is it something that has been here forever? Something that is sort of a non-physical entity, a non-human intelligence? Or, of course, as usual, is it something misinterpreted? You tell me. I don't know. And that's why we're here talking about it, because these ideas are fantastic and wild, and I love all of it, and I hope you do as well. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. If you want to be part of the conversation tonight, 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Come say hi. Love to hear what you think about this. Come say hi to James. Thanks again to James for saving the show tonight. We'll be right back. More on the way. Do not go anywhere. We got Matt Sal coming up. Thanks for being patient, my man. And your calls as well. See you on the other side of the break. Be right back.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. Research from Georgia Institute of Technology suggests fears of AI wiping out humanity are misplaced. The study argues AI is a collection of specific applications governed by existing laws and physical constraints, not a single autonomous entity. The focus should be on sector-specific policies to align AI with human values, rather than preventing a hypothetical AI apocalypse. AI's limitations include the lack of human-like creativity, reliance on human intervention for self-maintenance, and the fact that AI glitches are due to programming inconsistencies, not autonomy. Neanderthals and Homo sapiens interbred, with a tendency towards Neanderthal fathers and Homo sapiens mothers. This interbreeding passed Neanderthal genes to modern humans, demonstrating archaic introgression. A New Orleans couple, Daniela Santoro and Aaron Lopez, discovered a Roman funerary tablet in their garden. The tablet, dating back 1900 years, commemorates a Roman soldier named Sextus Congenius Verus. It was previously part of the collection of the National Archaeological Museum of Civitavecchia, Italy, but went missing after the museum was damaged during World War II. The stone's journey to Louisiana involved a former owner of the house, Charles Paddock Jr., who was stationed in Italy during the war. The FBI's art crime team is facilitating the repatriation of the tablet to the museum in Italy. Researcher Antonio Monterosso Checa, using LiDAR data from the National Geographic Institute of Spain, has potentially located the 10th century stronghold of Madinat az-Zahira, the lost city of Almanzor. The suspected location, near the Pendalias Hills in eastern Cordoba, shows anomalies in the LiDAR data indicative of large structures, aligning with historical descriptions. This discovery, if confirmed, could resolve a long-standing debate about the city's location. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. Roving got it. It was a joke, right? So AI telling me that AI is safe, because I have the AI reading the news. But I saw that. It's weird, right? So now we have this AI space where it's super contentious. People are super mad. And also now the press is turning a little bit, and you start to see pieces like this where they're like, come on guys, it's not the end of the world, let's get with the program. And I'm like, well, that's really weird. I haven't seen a lot of that in the mainstream news these days, but look, yeah, the AI, hey, if the AI voice on the radio tells you that AI is safe, then it must be safe. Right? Shout out Jen. Einstein's Dreams is by Alan Lightman is a book she recommends there. I'll drop that link in the chat on the Rumble as well. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Lots of great chat. Thanks again for being nice to each other. Thanks for, again, recommending books to read and ideas to think about and the whole thing. That's the whole point of this. That's why we're here. That's, again, bringing the human space back to the digital realm. And over to Rumble. What's up? Karen is here. Good evening. Hiker, I see you there. What's going on? We got Ricky. Anything is possible. What's up, brother? Welcome to the thing. How are you? Hello. Good evening. We got, who else is here? Who did I miss? If I missed anybody, Ephemerance is here. How you doing? Good evening. We got Margie. Hi. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for caring about the ideas enough to hang out with us. And thanks for your time and energy. It means the world to me and many others as well. What else? Let's see. Herschel adds, the issue is the surveillance and tracking in pre-crime and the people behind pre-crime using it to imprison people smarter than them, which is how this will be used, right? I mean, it's again, technology is not bad per se. It's how it's used as usual. And the bastards at the top that are making those decisions may not have the best moral compass. What's up, Eric Gaston, APOC with Robert? Thanks for the call. La Mosfina, Asgardia. What's up, Matsal? Coming up next, Herschel. We got Satya, the Unseen Steve McQueen, a Dub, and the Quantum. Welcome to the joint, guys. Hope everybody's well. We're here with James tonight talking about wild stuff. That's what we do. Who did I miss? If I missed you guys, just let me know, and I will do that. Who's on Kick? Just the same spammer on Kick. That's amazing. Very consistent. These bots are consistent. I tell you what. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, which you can find, by the way, at kuapdb.com. That's right, kuapdigitalbroadcasting.com. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Working on some other angles, too, here, trying to get us on some real radio in the United States as well. Tonight, we're taking your calls. We're here with James Salcedo, of course, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, taking your calls as we talk this signal to noise. Visitors from beyond the render, I'm calling this. And is it possible that hauntings may not be what we ever thought they were? Meaning non-organic, meaning some level of non-human intelligence that's been here forever, or something else entirely. And we started with the EVPs tonight and some other things. I won't drag you through the mud one more time. Go back and rewind and listen. We have that technology now. Matsal's been very patient. James, anything to add to what we're working on right now? And then we'll go to Matsal. Hang tight, Matt. We'll get with you in just a moment here.
Just that I do wonder with some other paranormal activity, whether it's shadow figures or, again, some of those cartoon-like figures I mentioned at the end of the last segment that kids have seen, how much of paranormal is something other than what we're used to thinking about. And again, I don't know, but I think it's an important question.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the whole point. We talk about definitions a lot. And I said this a long time ago. Like, how do you know the difference between a Bigfoot and an alien if you don't catch them and put them in a zoo next to each other? And I'm not suggesting we should imprison everything, but I'm just saying without like a specimen to actually document and put your eyeballs on, it might be the same thing entirely. And that's why we talk about these ideas in the abstract way that we do. Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the conversation tonight, 702-857-6939. Temple of the Owl. That's Al. Matthew in California. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you? Welcome to the join. Go right ahead.
Hey, guys. Good show. Can you hear me good?
Loud and clear. Thank you very much. You sound good.
Yeah, I had a story to tell about the SLS experience I had, but I did have one a memory I wanted to share real quick on here. It fits. It was a show that James did years ago. Me and you did a show, and it was like, you were reading paranormal stories, and we were reacting to them. And so it's true paranormal story, off the internet. And I think it's important that we just retell these stories and talk about these stories because, whether they're true or not, that's not up to me. But I think it's good we tell these stories and just kind of question them and what's going on. But James did a show years ago, and there was one story. And the story starts off, it's a story about these two kids, and they're in the backseat of a car. Their parents are on a road trip. And they're driving down the road, and the two kids in the back seat, they're watching a DVD on a tablet or maybe some sort of screen. And it's a kid's movie. And as they're driving down, all of a sudden, it's not part of the movie, but they see a stick figure or a shadow figure on the screen of the tablet. And the figure that comes across, it reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember this, the frog from Looney Tunes, and he's like got a cane and a top hat, and he's like, "Hello, my baby," right? He's doing the dance.
Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Yeah,
I sure do.
And then everybody thought the frog was still when everyone was around, but then when he was alone, the frog danced with the top hat, and the shadow figure danced across their screen of their tablet, and it's unexplained. It wasn't part of the movie. They both saw it. And that kind of fits here, right? It's silly. It's fun, it's kind of like, what is that? How did it work? How does that work if it's a ghost? Is it some sort of, digital phenomenon? Like what is that? It's not your everyday, ghost story grandma, coming to check in on you. Do you remember that, James? I'm just curious if you do. I don't expect you to.
I do remember it, yeah, and it was actually it was a DVD system built into the vehicle. And again, this is not internet, there's very little chance, as far as I can think of, where it could have been manipulated. And it was a DVD, and it was a shadow figure with a hat and a cane that basically just danced across the image on the screen, and only did that once, but these two siblings, they saw it. They can confirm they saw it. And yeah, this whole interaction of these figures seen either outside of screens or even on screens is also could be some kind of interaction between artificial beings of some kind and devices which are also artificial in a way. So yeah, it's funny because I didn't remember it until you started talking about it. Because that's where my mind goes. I can't just recall a lot of these off the bat, but yeah, I do remember that one. And those kind of cases to me are fascinating because that's a DVD. There's no way that someone hacked the vehicle's systems and then made that image show up on the screen because it was a DVD player. It wasn't an online device as far as the kids were aware of.
Yeah, do you think that fits here in this this topic we're talking about tonight? It's kind of silly, like a cartoon character.
Yeah, I do. I want to read this, what Roving Fungus just said in the chat too. He says, absurdity is something Jacques Vallée mentions when he talks about alien encounters. And the stick figure phenomena here feels very absurd. And I agree. It's Magonia. What's Passport to Magonia is the book that Jacques Vallée wrote about this. But he has this whole idea of this trickster phenomena that manifests in many different ways, and to mess with our mind in point blank. That's why. So yeah, I mean, that idea of this sort of being a goofy space, and interestingly, the thing you pointed out is very apt for what we're talking about, because it is, even in these cartoons, these hauntings happen, which you really wouldn't classify as a haunting because it's just a cartoon. It's just a silly thing that, in passing, whatever, haha, hello, my baby, hello, my darling. Everybody remembers the singing frog that watched Looney Tunes. However, it was, as you're describing now, I didn't remember this, but it is as you're describing, they only saw it when they were by themselves, right? Like, is this frog really here? So it's almost as if like the phenomenon itself is, toying with us in a larger context of art, right? Art imitates life imitates art, and all the rest. But yeah, I think it fits exactly. And the detail that you added, I think that is important here is nobody else saw it. so if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, right? Whatever it's called, I don't know. James, what you got?
Yeah, and this is the thing. There's so many reports of technology being affected by unknown forces that it goes throughout the decades. It's not just the modern thing. But I think, as I keep on saying, as technology gets to be more and more advanced, I can see that, I'm already seeing overall an increase in reports of technology acting in anomalous ways, of what appear to be spirits or other consciousness having effects on devices. And we don't know if those other consciousnesses are all spirits of people that passed on, or what else they might be. There's no way to know.
Yours, Matt's on. What you got?
Oh yeah, I just want to tell that story. I think it kind of fits here. It's funny. It's like you said, trickster spirit, and just questioning. What was that? I have no idea. It's not your normal ghost story. But I do have a story I want to tell real quick, and it's a story that happened to me a few years back, and it involves these SLS cameras, these stick figures. And I have a friend years ago, and he had it. I don't know what you want to call it. The Shining, whatever it was. He saw ghosts wherever, and he couldn't turn it off. And his whole family, it was hereditary. His whole family had it. His parents had it. His grandparents had it. His brother and sister had it, and his kids had it. And they couldn't turn it off. It was, to me, I thought, this is cool. It's a paranormal psychic gift. But they didn't think of it that way. They thought of it as a curse. They didn't like it. They didn't like to talk about it. Probably be mad at telling me the story, but they didn't like to talk about this stuff because they thought it gives it power. And so at this time, years ago, we lived in this apartment complex, and the apartment complex had burned down, and they rebuilt it, and several people died in the fire. And I just remember this apartment complex. I lived there too, and there was it was very active. It was very I could feel things going in and out of the apartment. And I would talk to his kids. They were young at the time, and when they would tell these ghost stories of seeing the ghosts going in and out of their house. And I listened to them because I felt, as a kid myself, seeing these things, and I had no one really to talk to. And so as hearing these stories from kids, I kind of I really want to pay attention, and I want to not encourage it, but listen to it, and at least listen and not, call them names or whatever. And so I listened to their stories, and they told stories about their hallway was clustered with ghosts. And there was they would go to bed in their room at night. There was two female ghosts in the room. One would stand by the closet, and one would stand at the foot of the bed. And they couldn't go to sleep because it's scary. And I listened to the stories, and I took it with a grain of salt, as maybe not necessarily believing it, but that's a cool story. And then years go by, and then one day. This is when Xbox Connect first came out, and they had these, you guys know this camera. It's, you put it on a dancing game on your Xbox, and you dance in front of the camera, and it maps you out, and that's how the game works. My friend, he had an extra Xbox, and he didn't want it, so we've learned that through these ghost shows that you could break your Xbox, and don't recommend it, but you could break your Xbox into being a ghost hunting device to map out these stick figures. And so we're playing around with it, and we're having a party at his house, a couple friends over, family members. And I remember I had the camera in my hand, and it's connected to the TV, the big screen TV, and it was on a wire. And I could I had 10, 15 feet to play. So I'm walking around with it, and they're seeing on the screen what I'm filming. And so I walk down the hallway, and I walk into the room, into the kids' room, and I'm by myself. And then I hear a commotion. I hear noises. And I come back out into the living room where everyone was, and everyone left the party. Everyone just ran out the door, scared. And my friend, what happened? I was like, what happened? And he was like, man, it was so weird. When you were walking down the hallway, you were just mapping out all kinds of stick figures. And when you got into the kids' room, there was a stick figure standing next to the closet and a stick figure standing next to the bed, exactly the way that the kids had described it. And to me, I think that story, like, I didn't see the actual footage because I was walking with the camera. But the fact that, 10, 15 people left the room, left the party because they were scared because I was mapping out these stick figures on the camera as I was walking around. And so, I believe in this kind of stuff. I think this is this could be the technology, if we can map it out and make it better, to hunt ghosts. But then after that, anything on that, guys? If you want to go quick?
Yeah, real quick on that. That Kinect, that's what it was called, the actual first generation Xbox camera. You could do the exercises or whatever on it, and it would track your arm motions and things. That thing, I had one, right? And I was talking to somebody that works for the DOD, okay? The Department of Defense, the DOW, Department of War now. And they said, you should probably unplug your Xbox when you're not using it. And I was like, oh, well, that's good advice, right? And so because I was just throwing, like I do actually with this camera, like I just throw like a towel over it when I'm not, like it's literally an orange towel. I just throw over the camera. So it's not watching you, right? While you're just sitting there zoning out, coding, on the non-troubled minds times or whatever. But that Kinect thing, the reason I'm bringing it up is because I had a cloth over it, and I was like, if it hears us, whatever. I just don't want it like seeing me, walk in my underwear, to go take a leak in the middle of the night or something, right? And we left it off, never even turned this thing on, like didn't play it. And so one day I turn it on, and that the cover is still over the Kinect camera. And literally, you can see me through the thing. Like it's still like with a literal rag hanging over the damn thing, a thick rag. It was still picking up me walking by, and I was like, "What the hell?" It wasn't super clear, but you could very clearly see every single curve on my body as I walked by this thing, and I was like, okay, that's enough. And I unplugged that MFer, and I never plugged it back in. And that is that. I was like, okay, no more cameras, no more Xboxes. We ain't doing any of that. And if I can't control what the output is, forget that. Like, I mean, it was almost like X-ray vision. It was absolutely wild to consider. But yeah, funny when you brought that up. And the stick figure thing gave me chills when you said that. Standing by the bed, bro, what the hell?
Yeah, that's the one story I have of those. And they call it the SLS, the structured light sensor camera. And I learned about it from, like I said, ghost stories, ghost shows. The thing is with those ghost shows, they're getting kind of weird. They're like, there's certain ones where, stick figures, but like nowadays that it's getting crazy, and they have like, what do demons look like in these cameras? They look like spiders. They don't just look like stick figures. And there's big ones and small ones, and they climb walls and do all kinds of weird stuff on these ghost shows. It kind of makes me think about it. And the technology's older, so I wonder, if we could get it to work to be a ghost hunting tool. I think, I don't know. I don't really get what it is. It's mapping out something. And it reminds me of another, not story, but a thing here I want to say that fits here is the story about the Teslas, the Tesla cars driving through the graveyard. You remember that story?
Yeah, picking up the ghosts or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, Tesla driving through the graveyard, and there's people in the camera, but not in real life. That's super interesting to me. I feel that fits here too.
Absolutely. Fire stuff as usual. Anything for Matt James while we got him in here?
Well, I think that technology is going to get better and better at picking up on these normally unseen or unseeable, that's quite the word, things as it gets better and better. And who knows? It makes me wonder too. I mean, who knows? Again, what the developers actually have access to as far as technology, and how well they can see devices can see things that haven't been released to the public yet. But yeah, I think all that is connected. I think all the technology is connected. Even just the screens, I've heard of, there's one account I found from a couple that were sitting at home and they had just finished watching a TV show and their TV was off. So all they were supposed to see and was the reflection of themselves in the screen. Well, when they were looking at it, they didn't see themselves in the reflection. They saw a shadow figure sitting on the couch on its own where they were sitting. And they saw the curtains in the window behind them were open in the reflection, even though they were closed where they were at in this world. So technology is a major intersection for all these anomalous things, and I don't know how it works, but there's too many reports for it not to be somehow connected.
Absolutely. Looking forward to when we actually detect the first verifiable spiritual entity, maybe from a Tesla car. What else you got, Matzo?
That's all. I think, thank you guys for doing the show. I think it is important that we retell the stories and talk about these stories and like the weird ones. This is not like I said, it's not your everyday, grandma checking in or your pet, ghost stories that we like to tell. And I like those stories too, but these ones are wild. These ones are weird. And the whole cartoon, like the cartoon aspect and the digital aspect of it, I think it's important we talk about these stories too. So thank you guys for doing the show. I'm going to go. Thank you guys.
You're the best. Appreciate you popping in here. You know him, you love him. That is templeoftheowl.com. Matt's Owl in California, affectionately. Of course, that's Matthew is his name. And go check out the work he's doing. If you're unfamiliar, and you shouldn't be, he was the co-host on the last show, and he's doing amazing work over there at templeoftheowl.com. Please check that out. You can listen to the radio station straight from his website. He's got tons of episodes, dozens and dozens of episodes, synthesizing his large esoteric book collection into sort of the modern space. This is what it's all about, guys. We talk about chronicling ideas. We talk about sort of archiving things that should not be lost in the age of AI as they delete the internet, right? They train the models on it, and then they're like, well, we don't have to host that stuff anymore. Our model has it. You know how I feel about that. We've talked about that quite a lot. It's the memory hole on a civilizational scale, which is wild, but this is the point. So those books you have, do not get rid of them. Those books you find at those used bookstores, pick one up if it's interesting. Read this stuff, synthesize the information, bring it here, create your own podcast, write your own blog, something. Do something, please. Just create something. That's the whole point of this, is to really catalyze that information and move it forward from the old ways to the new ways. What the new way looks like, nobody knows yet, okay? But we're still dealing with it, creating this human space, talking about these ideas together. Long story short, go follow Temple of the Owl. Matt's a great dude, great friend, making amazing content over there. James, anything? Yeah, we got a couple, 3 minutes left on anything he said. Eric, I see you there. We'll go straight to you at the bottom of the hour, and then we got Night Stalker after that. James, anything to add on any of that stuff that Matt said? The two stick figures by the bed, particularly chilling. Cleared the party. What the hell, right?
Oh, that's amazing. I love these, not so much for people that experience them, but I love these accounts of these things that, you may see on TV shows. And so you wonder, well, it's a TV show. But then you find these accounts, or you hear these accounts of these experiences that do use they do use the things that are used on these TV shows. And so that's fascinating to me, because that just shows there could be something to all this. Great call. I didn't get to say earlier too, and I said I blanked on it. Great call from the Robert, and great call from Matt's Owl. I think that the intersection of the paranormal and technology it's getting more and more common, and I think it's only going to advance. And I don't know where it's going, but I think eventually there will be more and more sensors, more and more and better sensors that can pick up on these things that we normally can't see on our own. And I'm really curious what will happen when we pair that technology with people that are sensitive to all these things and get sort of multiple ways of verifying encounters and entities, and maybe figuring out what is what. When is it the consciousness of a person that has passed on, and when is it something else? When is it, being able to actually identify what is happening instead of, well, we really don't know.
Yeah, or like an actual paranormal experience or a demon from the nine hells. Shout out Dungeons and Dragons. Look, and this is the point, like I said, the zoo analogy. I'm not saying we should capture everything and look to bottle it up in that Ghostbusters trap. But I am saying that I agree with James that it's going to be fascinating as hell when we turn a corner and recognize that maybe some of the old stories weren't all necessarily bogus. Imagine that. Imagine a day when we determine that you can kind of look through the historical account of folklore, mythology, and some of these other, more ambiguous stories that persist, but really lack classification. Imagine when something like that becomes very clear. You're like, oh, that's what that was. And then you look at history and you can rewrite everything. Looking forward to that. Hopefully we have one of those moments in my lifetime. I think we will, only because I'm a weirdo and I believe there's a lot of things in that unseen realm as yet quantified. And so, here we are talking about it, thinking about it, wondering what might come next. We're talking about electric voice phenomenon tonight. These also stick figure entities that are, more two-dimensional than you would expect of a, disembodied spirit or a demon from the nine hells, not to be crude or grotesque, or an angel from the seven heavens. You know what I mean, or Elysium or whatever. My point is, it's a wide and amazing world we live in. And who knows how you quantify these things when they are as yet unquantifiable. What do you know about it? Have you ever heard of these square or stick figure entities? And, of course, the addendum to every question I ask, how weird does it get? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. See how I did that? 857-6939. Love to hear from you. We got Eric coming up and Derek, the Night Stalker, as well. And your calls. What do you know about this? Be right back here with James Salcedo tonight. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Let's check the news. The Lunar Trailblazer mission, a $72 million NASA probe to map water on the moon, failed due to a software error that misdirected its solar panels and other software issues. A review panel found that inadequate testing by Lockheed Martin, the spacecraft's builder, contributed to the failure. While NASA and Lockheed Martin claim to have learned from the incident, the failure highlights the risks associated with lower-cost Class D missions and the importance of mitigating risks effectively. The loss was particularly hard for the scientists involved. The incident prompted extra scrutiny of the Escapeade mission to Mars. A new study from the University of Illinois College of Medicine, Chicago, reveals that superagers, those over 80 with memory capacity decades younger, have twice as many new neurons in their hippocampus compared to typical older adults, suggesting a genetic advantage and greater brain plasticity. The research, involving postmortem brain analysis, found superagers exhibit a resilience signature and unique cell changes that regulate memory. Prior research indicates superagers also tend to be extroverted, open to new experiences, have slower brain shrinkage, and are resistant to tau tangles. Experts emphasize that even without being a superager, maintaining cognitive and physical activity, managing health, and staying engaged can significantly support brain health throughout life. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory has launched its real-time alert system, notifying astronomers of changes in the night sky within 2 minutes of discovery. The system, designed to eventually generate up to 7 million alerts per night, processed 800,000 alerts in its first run, detecting supernovae, variable stars, active galactic nuclei, and new asteroids. This precedes the observatory's Legacy Survey of Space and Time, LSST, promising to deliver unprecedented insights into the cosmos by capturing wide-field snapshots of the southern sky every few nights and keeping astronomers updated in real time. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. Imagine setting that thing up and being, the guy who monitors it or the team, and you wake up after, 8 hours or whatever, and there's 800,000 anomalous things. Yeah. Hey, look. Maybe they're going to find the space ghost out there. Maybe that's what comes next. Who knows? Maybe they're going to detect the Lovecraftian. What is it? What's the Azathoth? Right? I mean, I'm of course just being kidding, but also, what else is out there that we don't know about? I don't know. You tell me. Who'd I miss? What's up, Margie, Gordo? I see you. We got Karen is here in the chat over there. Hiker. Yeah. This house is only big enough for one stick figure, says Hiker. That's me. You. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. This is a weird one, and we've had this on the deck for quite some time. Again, a special shout out to James here for saving the day, because I promise you I got home way too late to put together a show. So he kind of front loaded this one yesterday, 2 days ago even, and so we had some material to work with and some great ideas, and here we are. What do you know about? Why do you think these entities are more or less two-dimensional? And does that strike you as bizarre? Yeah. Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. Kelly, shout out in the chat. Matt Sal, who'd I miss? If I missed anybody, sorry about that. Gaston, Sacho, we got the Robert. Matt Sal, appreciate the call. Kelly, La Mosfina, Asgardia, Dub, the Quantum, and Sylvain. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening right about meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. All the places, all the things, yada, yada, troubledminds.org. Click the friends link, follow our friends. Tonight, I'm calling this Signal to Noise, Visitors Beyond the Render. Now, what does that mean? Yeah, it's ambiguous. It's an arty title, but let's try and boil it down to just a few sentences. The voices in the EVP recordings were never quite right, never fully human, mechanical somehow, as if being assembled rather than spoken. What if that wasn't a flaw in the recording? What if that was always the point? And of course, we're talking about not just EVPs. What do you believe they're real? Do you believe there is static in that noise? And this other bizarre edge case phenomenon of the stick figure paranormal entity, or the sort of two-dimensional space of a square ghost, right? A very thin square ghost, like Oumuamua. I guess maybe Oumuamua would have been our first space ghost, right? Tumbling on multiple axes. Don't get me started on all the things I know about that. But have you heard of this? The stick figure entity, and do you think there is a parallel that goes back to the EVP? Are these connected at all, or nah? 702-857-6939. James, what you got? And we'll go to Eric in Ohio.
I think, to me, what this all boils down to is, what if there are more than just beings that are from this world somehow, or connected to this world? What if there is some other artificial being from somewhere else that someone else made, somewhere else in some other time, that has been appearing either through sound or apparitions throughout decades, throughout who knows how long. That's to me the biggest question in all this is, has that been happening, and how has that been happening? Is it just the stick figures and the planes of light and the mechanical voices, or does it go to more of the other common paranormal things as well, and we just have, in many cases, misidentified them? So, but looking forward to the calls as well.
Our reality, misidentification station. We're just living in it. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Eric in Ohio. What's up, brother? You're on Trouble Minds with Mike and James. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
I am doing well. And, you guys got me thinking about geometrical figures that appear in dimensional people that appear, and modulated voices from beyond, and I had some thoughts on it and some things that I thought I could share that we could consider, whether I wouldn't call it a belief system or anything like that, but it's an interesting connection.
Yeah, remember, all the disclaimers apply. It doesn't have to really be real. Like, this is a show about possibilities, and you're definitely in the right place. Love to hear it, man. What you got?
Well, you know, we were talking about Flatland earlier, and that was in 1884. And that was a satirical novel that was poking fun at Victorian society. And like the basis of it was the more sides you had geometrically, the higher in status you were in the social class. And there's actually a role-playing game called Flatland based on this too. And so anyway, that was in 1884, and the Michelson and Morley experiment was in 1887, just a few years later. And they were recapitulating a experiment that was done in Germany in 1880. So both of these experiments were people trying to prove that there was an ether that light went through, and they were trying to detect how fast the Earth was moving through this ether. And so when they got their readings back, they famously found out that it didn't matter if the Earth was heading into a beam of light or away from a beam of light, but either way, the readings were the same. And they were trying to like figure it out, and they couldn't figure it out, right? Like, well, that's just weird. And so they told Albert Einstein about it, and eventually Albert Einstein came to the realization that there is no official here or now. It's just absolutely impossible, because there is no here, because we're all obviously in different spots. But not only that, but the Earth is moving through space, orbiting the sun. The sun is moving up and down through the galactic rim, circling the galaxy. The galaxy is moving through space, heading toward the Great Attractor. The Great Attractor is moving past the Virgo cluster. So everything is in motion. There's nothing. The only way you can even tell of anything like speed is if you frame reference something, like between this and this. If it's framed off, you can tell how fast something is going. Otherwise, it's impossible, because everything's in motion. And the deal with this is, with light, is that it shows you that the reason why light is always at a constant speed is because no matter what speed you're at, time compensates. So if you're on a train heading 50 miles an hour and lightning strikes and a dude is sitting on a porch and they both see it, that light reaches them at the same time, regardless of how fast they were approaching it. Because if you're moving faster, time is slower for you, just slow enough so that it matches the speed that the other guy who's not moving sees this. So that really deeply affected Einstein. He become to believe that because there is no universal here and now, that everything must exist in the future, in the past already, that anything that you did in the past, if you could literally go back to the past, you would be there. And he believed this so much that he had a really good friend whose name was Michael Besso, who died. And in a condolence letter to Besso's family, he brought this point up, and it became to be known then as eternalism, and then later as block universe theory. And block universe theory is based on the beginnings of Kluge-Klein theory, which started out in 1921, not too long after these concepts had got into effect in terms of relativity. And it started talking about the fine structure of the universe and how it was built. And there's like a pedigree of going from the Kluge-Klein theory in 1921 that leads into string theory and M theory, and eventually what becomes block theory, which is that even just like when the structure of the universe has been created and it expands out into space, like from the Big Bang, and all the matter stretches out and starts filling three-dimensional space, time does the same thing. It starts branching out in this three-dimensional space, and all of it exists at once. It's just that the consciousness that you have can't conceive of the whole universe. So it can only conceive of a part, and it has to move forward with the arrow of time like everything else does in this universe, except for possibly positrons, which may be electrons moving backward in time. But aside from that sort of a situation, everything is following the arrow of time. And so your consciousness would essentially ride a four-dimensional path through a block universe, following a predestined course where you can only perceive things at one section at a time, and it gives this grand illusion of time flowing when in fact everything is actually static and it's you that's moving. It's like trying to ascertain when you look up at the moon and you see the clouds moving by, is that the moon moving or is the clouds moving? All right. And so in such a universe, they propose that dreams are a part of the consciousness that breaks off from that one focal point and gets to nearby areas in the cosmic fabric of the universe. And that speaks volumes on how you might also have impressions that are embedded in the fine structure of the universe, things that you would hear as voices that would manifest as voices or manifest as something that you would see. And in terms of stories about orbs and geometrical figures, we had talked on a show that me and James had done once about orbs, that's the most energy conservant state. That's why planets and stars tend to be spheres, because it's equal energy dissipation, whereas any of the other Pythagorean solids is going to cost more energy to maintain. The more energy, the more sides, which is what Albert was talking about in Flatland, why he had that going up on the hierarchy. So then, of course, you had Kip Thorne and Stephen Hawking and Leonard Susskind, who basically won Nobel Prizes for showing that all three-dimensional information can be expressed as two-dimensional information expressed in a three- or four-dimensional universe, which of course led to the idea that everything in the universe could be a projection from the edge of the universe expanding out, giving the impression of time. So, in a universe that's obviously constructed, like when you get down to the base level and you talk about things like quantum leaping electrons going through energy shells, and they're not traveling from one shell to another, they're just emitting a photon and appearing in another area, which is where the whole term quantum leap was first coined. When you see all these things based on a grid, quantumized out, and even the ancients could see the ancient mathematics behind it, like the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio. I mean, it's almost like, it's not surprising that this looks like a construct to physicists, to the ancients, to math. Everything is based on this, right? That's what the Pythagoreans would really be happy with, right? So in a universe, this looks super constructed, super gridded out, and static in the sense that everything exists at once, and you could possibly brush up against a part of it that isn't really there but is. That I can see where that sort of situation would lead to these type of sightings in all these various ways and stuff, that eventually the consciousness would pick up on these impressions or these echoes or these other timelines, and the brain is getting the stimulus, but the brain is like, well, what do I do with this stimulus? It's not one of the normal 5 things I'm used to, like taste and sight and hearing. This is something else. So it's struggling to form it into a feeling, into a sight, into a sound, into anything that can be perceived in the where you're at in space and time. So it's like a really weird thing, man. I mean, like there's very little difference, it seems, between physicists have found through the ages and what the ancients have found through the ages.
Well, wow. Well said, all of that. I'll boil down what I understood is that the human experience is a parallax fractal, and we're cruising through a static universe that is always unchanging. Not unchanging, but unchanging time-wise. So we're the ones moving through it. And as a result, possibly, maybe, and I'm adding to your theory here, or just not necessarily theory, just the ideas, that maybe, just maybe, when we cruise through these things, we've evolved to ignore them, to ignore the high strangeness, because it does not fit how we experience life. I love all of it, man. Someday I hope that becomes a massive book that everybody reads. Fire stuff.
Thank you, man. That's all I was thinking. I was just thinking about those things, and yeah, don't forget you can get the role playing game for Flatland if you feel like playing a square.
Indeed. Where's my Daryl?
Or a dodecahedron if you roll well, right?
Right. There you go. My Daryl drum roll. Firestar brother, we got Derek behind you. We got to cut. You were the best. We'll have Eric will be back on the show on Sunday. Look, like I always say, I'm blessed. We're blessed to have such smart friends. Thank you for bringing the ideas to us tonight. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being patient, and thanks for chipping in.
Thanks
we'll talk to you soon, and glad to have you. We'll talk to you on Sunday night. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Take care. You know him, you love him. That's Eric, again, in Ohio. As simple as that, right? Follow him, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, click Eric. Follow Eric here. He's got a link tree, and go check out his stuff. He's not just creating, he did those plugins, but he's got the music he's making. Go check it out. Go help our friends. That's what this is all about. Anything on that, James? And then we'll go to our friend Derek.
Oh, just a great call from Eric. Also, yes, I highly recommend. There's an episode of my show. I'll pull it up after the show tonight and put it in the Discord, where Eric and Jen were on with me, and we were talking about orbs and sightings of lights in the sky. And Jen and Eric together, that was an amazing show. So I'll pull that up and put it in the Discord chat after the show is done.
Fantastic. Yeah. Smart people all around. Jen and Derek, and blowing the entire thing up. And you, of course, as well. And here we are talking. I'm calling this Signal to Noise tonight. Visitors from beyond the render. What do you know about it? That's the whole point. Remove the truth. Think about fractal conception of what the universe might be. And let's talk about it together. One more time, if you want to be part of the conversation, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org.
What's going on, Brutus?
Derek in Massachusetts. What's up, brother? The Night Stalker. Thanks for being patient with us. Get you in here, and thanks for peeling out some time from us. You're busy as hell over there, per usual, in the freezing cold. Welcome. What's on your mind, my man?
Thank you, guys. Great show. Great call to everybody. I'll be quick. I'll do the abbreviated version of it. But I just... I'm interested in like just how weird it is. Like the reality that's rendered that we create is just based on kind of symbols and images that we picked up all along the way, and that could be all along the way in the entire like course of humanity. There's just one little thing I think is interesting. Do you know that like during the peak of black and white TV, that people would dream in black and white? Are you aware of this phenomenon?
No, that's bizarre though. Talk about a sort of a MK Ultra for the masses right there. That's wild.
It's crazy. So I just got a couple blurbs. I just searched it real quick, and it says, overall, researchers and study participants agree that black and white dreams were the norm, and rare cases of color dreams were dubbed, quote, technicolor dreams in 1954. This was like a study in 1954 and 1951. And a different site said, one possibility is that the ubiquity of black and white images is technologically advanced countries in the first half of the 20th century actually caused our dreams to change. That although Aristotle, Epicurus, and Freud and their contemporaries dreamed in color, the average American in 1950 dreamed mostly in black, which I think is just bonkers. And that older people who lived like majority of their life was black and white entertainment. They still have the most black and white dreams. And I don't remember personally ever dreaming in black and white.
No, hell no.
even when I watch Clerks so much times. You know what I mean? But and then like to tie into this, there was a time like for until basically the Renaissance, I think maybe before that, humans, our art that we made is all in 2D. We didn't create 3D. Like there's a moment, I'm not sure what it is, but there's a moment where we switched over from 2D renderings on cave walls or on Egyptian hieroglyphs and stuff to like a 3D with shadow and I think it's Renaissance-ish. And perhaps during that entire course, like thousands and thousands of years before they started to like draw or figured out how to make images in 3D, that all the images that they see were in 2D. I wonder if some of the phenomena they saw was also in 2D. For all we like the dog-headed things that look like they're in 2D, we assume that that's just like a ancient rendering of it. But what if that's just actually what they saw, because that's all that that's like what their mind had to work with. And if the phenomena somehow uses, like we're talking about telepathy and these kind of things, that a consciousness is the main part of it, and that it uses the images we have to color reality. Like that's how we make reality, is our mind takes in all these things through the 5 senses way more than we can handle, and the reality that we see is just a tiny fraction, like 0.5% to 5% of all the information, and like our history, our culture, the animals that we see, the stories that we've been told are what's used to paint these images for us. And the phenomena might work in the same way, that different parts around different time periods, different places in history might be pulling out different images to use. And we have just a ton of obviously modern day cartoony 2D images, stick figures, clip art stuff, but also a huge part of our brain where we only process 2D images. So maybe sometimes when these entities are pulling stuff out in order to render themselves for us, giving themselves form using our ideas, that sometimes they pick out ones that seem really, really uncanny to us because that's not how we see reality anymore, but we used to kind of see it that way. I try to do it quick. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. But I'm a weird guy, so don't take that as your
what do you think, James?
Go ahead, James. I was going to say, go ahead, James.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I'm thinking, I do think that our minds, our access to when it comes to a lot of these experiences and images or ideas are taken by whoever or whatever else is out there.
Yeah.
And used to make images of whatever we see. Also, another factor I think in all this is I've heard of cases where in sightings that were had by multiple people, yes, sometimes people see the same thing, but not always. Sometimes when people see anomalous things, they see different things and even get different senses of, it's a positive force or entity, or it's a negative. Two people in the same situation, I've found accounts of getting opposite feelings or senses of what a being was or what they were seeing was, both in terms of good or bad and also in terms of what it visually appeared to be. So who knows how all this works, but I've heard about that in many cases where it's not just always the same thing.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of AI writing and stuff, that it's picking from a vocabulary of words that it has, that it's been trained on. And sometimes you can notice the AI of it because it's using words that a person wouldn't necessarily use in normal conversation that seem kind of uncanny. And what if the phenomena is using the images, our memories, our context, the stuff we have in our head has its own alphabet in order to communicate to us. And sometimes it uses uncanny things the same way the AI will say words that we don't really use, and we notice, that's an AI there. Sometimes the phenomena will use things that we don't see. We don't see cartoon stick figures and stuff around. So sometimes when they use that, whoa, what the hell's going on? When 99% of the time they'll use your ancestors, or they'll use things that will look more closer to reality. Sometimes the Men in Black look weird, maybe because they just don't understand. They don't understand how things work. But sometimes there's just an uncanniness to how the phenomena is manifesting itself. I don't know. A couple quick things real quick. For the EVP stuff, and just the way we talk about this all the time, but the way technology seems to in Zoroastrian mythology, which is one of the oldest known mythologies, their Satan, their demons their Satan is Ahriman, he's the Lord of Electricity, and their demons, quote unquote, exist within the electromagnetic spectrum and stuff. And then there's the crossover. Seemingly all different types of phenomena beyond the veil can kind of use technology in some capacity to communicate with us. That's kind of the connective tissue between the realms. And it's the example I always give is Will using the Christmas lights in order to communicate from the upside down to his mom and stuff. So now, if this stick figure thing is a modern phenomena, or increasingly modern phenomena, now we have Wi-Fi everywhere. We have this whole invisible world of, and I don't know how Wi-Fi works. When I'm sending somebody a photo, is how that's I'm thinking kind of like Willy Wonka style when Mike TV is beamed into the other thing, and I'm not sure that's necessarily how it works. But in some way, are there images all around us in the air at all times? And sometimes, the same way Will uses the Christmas lights, or in the later seasons, the kids just kind of go wave their hands around the chandelier kind of thing. It just creates a weirdness of what if the phenomena is just kind of using this sea of different waves that now exists in, and using that to manifest itself. And sometimes that sea includes weird clip art stuff, or weird cartoon stuff, or weird I don't know what. And then just lastly, what if in the future we just have ensouled digital entities, and what happens when you get, like you already said, what happens when those things die or something like that, or is there an afterlife for them, or when if you have some kind of ensouled being that's outside of time, they can visit us at any point. That's what if the phenomenon is all kind of an ancient AI or a future AI, and all the kind of digital spectrum stuff that's included in that. But I try to be quick. That's all I really got, though.
No, I love it. I love it. But before you go, a quick sync. I've got a Willy Wonka thread, and I was literally talking about that Mike TV scene yesterday to my wife. I was doing the wave in the arms and the whole Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like I've got a Willy Wonka thread. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm still working on it, but I think there's some stuff there that's mythological. I think there's some stuff there that is very pertinent to today. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, it could be a perfect example of it. I haven't watched that movie or seen that movie in years and years. It's not in my brain, but like we're as a group kind of all synced up together. Our brain waves are kind of all moving the same way because we're all friends and family here. Like then me trying to reach for an example, me reaching for some weird alphabet to use to convey what I'm trying to say, and pulled something that you were thinking of recently. And maybe that's kind of happening with Wi-Fi or with the phenomena reaching into our mind, and stick figures and cartoon characters and block shapes and weird things are included in that and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Thanks you guys. Great stuff.
Watch your back. The noosphere is out to get you. You're the best brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, James. Great stuff.
Have a great night. You love him. Derek the Night Stalker, please give him a follow. I sound like a broken record. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It's very simple. It says the Night Stalker here. Or is it? I think it's under N. I mess it up every time. It's under T. No. Yeah, under N for Night Stalker right there. There you go. Give him a follow on YouTube, and let's encourage him to make some more amazing content. As you can tell, he's a great thinker. He's a smart guy. That's the point. Like I always say, we're honored and blessed to have such talented, smart friends to consider ideas outside the paradigm of known reality. That's that. James, wrap this up. Final word is to you. Thanks again for saving the day. With no James, no show tonight. So thank you again for that. Thanks for bringing brilliance to all of it and edge case ideas, which I love.
Oh, it's funny because I love the more rare cases that I find, the one-offs, those kinds of things. So that's why I wanted to bring up this idea of what is out there, and is there more than just the usual, like I said, categories of fae or fairy or cryptids or human spirits or whatever? Is there something else out there that is none of those things, that is artificial, made by, and then the question is who or what? And thank you for having me on the show as always.
Thank you for being here as always. You are the glue of the show. You know him, you love him. James Salcido, Salcido Paranormal, Salcido, paranormal.com. You can find that, of course, just search it directly, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, it says follow James. Right there. Click it. Oh, and I get to, I'll click your thing and then shout out that the website's on there. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And look, very easy. Very easy. Look, all this stuff is free. Like 98.5% of all the stuff on the friends list is free. Let's just follow our friends. Let's help our friends. Let's talk about these ideas together. Let's think about things that the mainstream doesn't think about. And again, think about the wild synchronicities that happen as part of this. I'm not kidding you. I've got a Willy Wonka thread. We'll do a show on that in the future. I'm formulating it as, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but literally as Derek was describing that, on the tip of my tongue was Mike TV. And then he said it. He said the words. I was like, oh, dear Lord. Of all the things he could have said to explain that. Anyway, I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. Are we connected? In the larger sense, in the noosphere sense, are we connected? Remember, you're here for a reason. I don't know. I don't know the answers to that. But what I do know is things are weird out there. Don't let the noosphere sneak up on you and bite you in the ass. If you want to help us help our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. Do all the things. Look, if they're selling stuff, you want to spend money, don't spend money on me. Spend money on them. Go buy the books they're selling. Buy James's books. Go buy the Roberts books. Go buy Matthew's books. Go buy the people that are selling stuff down there. Go, please. Okay? That's why it's not called A Troubled Mind. It is Troubled Minds, plural. We're lucky enough to have conceived that, grinded through the nobody here, and here we are. Try it yourself. You'll see. How's the saying go? Results not typical. Results not typical. Shout out Kelly out there. Also popped into the chat. I don't know if he's still there, but he popped in the chat and basically said the same premise James had to start. The Fey realm, the Fey folk, this type of stuff as part of this larger context of what this stuff means. So, it's great to have smart friends. If you want to help us directly spread the word, let people know what conversation is happening, that's, look, we're not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm not going to break down the latest political news. Look, I listen to it, and all of it pisses me off because they're all liars. But I'm not going to talk about it because everybody else talks about it. That's it. You can find that crap anywhere else you want. You're not going to find that crap here. That's it. That's why I don't do it. Not because I don't care. Not because I'm not engaged. Not because my head is in the sand. I do it because there's a fatigue for that crap. This is a space away from it. That's it. Do you want to help us directly spread the word? Let people know. And also, troubledfans.com. If you can't get enough of Troubled Minds, there's hats, there's shirts, there's beanies, there's you name it. I'm not wearing one today. It's an old shirt from the Goodwill. Yes, indeed. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Thanks for staying up late with us, guys. It is early, and it's time to go do some things for you and for me and everybody else. I appreciate you very much, James. Thanks for making this work and killing the streams now. Shout out to the Rumble crew out there. Thanks for bringing it every night and all the kind chat. And you're the best. Killing the stream. Thank you again. We'll see you on Sunday night, God willing. Eric will be here with us, and then more the following week. There you go. Fred says, I do need